What is that?
Is that a ghost? Hello, and welcome to another episode of I Want to Believe You.
We're two skeptics out to discover the truth behind your paranormal claims.
Real stories from real people with real experiences.
I want to believe you.
Do you? I'm intrigued to see.
I just saw a fucking ghost on the screen.
Did you?
We're gonna come back and watch that later. Remind me that
Okay.
there's something there. It's probably just like a bit fur, but there was something. It was on you. It was like, it's touching your boob.
Was it really?
Yeah.
You fucking perverts.
Now back to our regular scheduled programming.
As you may tell by the title, this episode is all about Ouija board experiences, and we asked you at home what your experiences were, and these are the answers we got.
I've never personally used the Ouija board before, so I'm very intrigued to see what you guys had to say. So we're going to start with our first experience. This experience was submitted by Maya. Maya said, "So I was young and dumb, but I used one in my friend's house one night. First off, it was a Target sold $20 board. I didn't do a single thing you are normally supposed to. I was with just my friend at the time in her room. Lights out, only some candles. The planchette started moving as we asked if anyone was here, and I didn't believe it wasn't my friend, so then I asked it to move something, and the bed moved, as if someone sat on it. And the right side of me got the chills. We said goodbye, and I gave the board back to my cousins after that. My friend told me stuff started falling over in her room for a few months after that, but then it stopped. I'm kind of embarrassed about how we really shouldn't have even played with it, and I've heard some scary stories come from misuse of those."
Wow. That's not like a terrifying story from it.
It's not terrifying. It kind of falls in line with other stories I've heard.
Yeah. Even without a Ouija board in use. Like
Yeah,
people
just
sitting on beds and
like typical haunting, you know. Kind of interesting that it did happen while using the Ouija board. I guess a good question would be, you know, had these kind of hauntings happened before they used the Ouija board, or did this all start happening afterwards? Then it would kind of give favor to the idea that maybe they opened a portal or something. That's what they say these boards do. So it's interesting though. You know, the bed moved as if someone sat on it. I've heard similar stories about people seeing things like beds, cushions, chairs, even things like plastic bags, saying that it got stepped on, or it moved, or it looked like someone sat down on it. So it's pretty common stuff when it comes to hauntings. But it's interesting that it did happen when they were using the Ouija board. So yeah, that's a good one.
we have another submission, and this is from Kevin. And Kevin says, "I've used them lots of times." So this is going to be interesting. "At school, when I first used them with friends, we were idiots, and things quickly got out of hand. People started to do a lot of stupid, dangerous things. One girl was removed from school by her parents and was seeing a counsellor. Another guy smashed a glass on the wall and cut his hand pretty badly. A friend of mine went crazy. He cut his wrist and made a pentagram out of his blood. It was a stupid time, but it's been much better since I started doing them again." What?
Wow. So immediately, you know, I have to agree that they were young, and they said that it was, you know, a lot of stupid stuff occurred. When you're young, we do stupid stuff. I've done numerous stupid things when I was young, you know. And we went over this in past episodes several times about when you're younger, your imagination is way more active. You're able to have a lot more fun with these kind of things, and I'll be honest, when it comes to Ouija boards and you have a lot of friends around, there's always going to be that one friend, if not multiple, that want to scare the rest of the crowd. So they're always doing something crazy, like the buddy who smashed a glass on the wall. He just went over in my opinion, this kid just went over the top with it. If he was actually possessed, that's crazy, but
I feel like the girl from school that was removed and then went to see a counsellor, that was just a coincidence.
Could have been. I mean, yeah. People get removed from school. I mean, yeah, that happens. It happens.
I don't know about the pentagram and blood though. That's a bit crazy. As a joke, if that was a joke.
Well, let's see. He cut his wrist and made a pentagram out of his blood. Again, depending on how old this person is, I mean, even when I was in school, kids were doing stupid stuff. Not like necessarily suicidal, but edgy, very edgy stuff. And obviously, playing with Ouija boards, I'm just assuming Kevin was part of an edgy clique. I know I was, and we did a lot of bizarre stuff like that. I mean, yeah, just kids being kids. That's what I put that one off as. Only because they said at school, with the friends. I mean, been there, done that. So, still an interesting story. I mean, anytime you see a pentagram and blood.
It's true. Like me being like my friend group, we were all like into a lot of black metal and stuff. So like a lot of stupid shit like this would happen with us as a little bit. It's just like us being, it's like again nothing suicidal or anything, just being stupid, young and dumb and.
Yeah, and when you're young, again, imaginations, and not just that, the willingness to scare the rest of the crowd, to be a little bit, to take a step beyond. It's definitely going to happen when you're in your younger ages. So
it's interesting because they didn't actually mention anything to do with the Ouija board, just the experiences afterwards.
Right. Does it coincide with the Ouija board? I don't know. I wouldn't say so. So that was interesting. But let's move on because we have plenty more for you. This one's from Kyle. Kyle says, my older sister tied fishing string to things in the room. She made drapes wiggle and papers fall off the dresser. We were so scared. One time she tied thin thread to a closet door and the other end taped to an 8-ball. After we were in the room, she casually put the 8-ball on the dresser, leaving the thread in the doorway. When we got scared and ran out, the thread whipped the 8-ball at us and we screamed and said the ghost had touched us.
Right.
Okay.
So the sister was playing a prank.
Playing a prank, yeah. She, this kind of goes hand in hand with what I was saying before. There's at least one person, if not multiple people in the room that are there just to scare you. So they kind of take credibility away from the whole idea of a Ouija board because they're just there trying to scare you.
It's a funny submission, because we asked, have you used a Ouija board and what is your experience? And this kind of has nothing to do with the actual Ouija board, but just like a weird experience, I guess, after they've used it.
Yeah, I think what they were basically... Oh, go ahead.
Sorry, but it's nothing like what they were actually doing with the Ouija. It's not paranormal at all.
I think what they were trying to outline was that they had used Ouija boards with their sister. And their sister, her primary goal was to just scare them. So now Kyle's older, he realizes, yeah, we were scared.
Yeah.
But the truth is that the Ouija board didn't do anything paranormal. Everything we experienced, it wasn't really paranormal. We found out it was indeed my sister tying strings to things and scaring us. So, again, that's probably the case with most incidences with Ouija boards. I hate to say it because I want to believe this is real, but when you have multiple people there's at least a couple that are there, if not one. And in most groups, there's at least one person that's there, the prankster. They're there to get reactions. And this is a case of that.
Yeah. That's why it's good to do with just,
only people you trust that are there for the same reason you are.
A couple people, yeah. That's why we try it one day, it would just be the two of us. And
yeah. 100% legit reactions. If it don't work, you're going to know.
As husband and wife, I have his word. He's telling me the truth. So our next submission is from Derek. And Derek says, had a brilliant experience with a group of guests when one of their relatives came through the board. So I let them ask all the questions, and everything they asked was correct on the board.
Okay, so that's super interesting. A group of guests.
A group, yeah.
The only question to ask now is, how many of the guests were related to the person whose relative came through the board? How many people knew the answers to the questions? Even if there was more than one, one person's enough to make it not, you know what I mean? One person's enough to control the whole thing and make people think, you know? So it's kind of, it just falls into that category. It almost seems better if, like, the person who does know about the answers doesn't even touch the board. They just stand back and let the other ones do it.
Yes.
Then you'd be getting
but then does it work as well? Because it needs to be your energy.
Well, not necessarily. They just need the energy of a person, a conduit, if you would. To use their energy, and the spirit kind of helps guide their hands. So the person can be in the room with the correct answers, not touching the board. Now, if that's the case and that's what happened, then that's pretty amazing. But I feel like in this case, with the way he explained it, they were all using it, and it's just so tough to be able to say, yeah, that's legitimate, when, you know, a person who's touching the dial has the answers, you know?
Because we were saying before how when we were using the pendulum, how because we knew the answers, subconsciously we were moving it.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the Ouija board. You have such a light pressure, and your mind tells your hand to go somewhere, even though you swear that you're not moving it, you are.
We learned about this the other day. I'm trying to remember what the name of that.
It's to do with like the very tiny sensors that are in your fingers triggered to your brain. And the same
it's
with
just
the
the subconscious movements that you don't even know you're doing. You think your hand's staying completely still, but it's moving according to your subconscious, and that kind of stuff is real. That's scientifically proven. And
that's exactly why we want to do experiments where one of us knows the answer and the other one doesn't.
Exactly.
We'll definitely get onto that. That's
when you're pinpointing whether or not this is legitimate or this is just us doing it out of our subconscious. And that could be the case too with Derek's experience. So.
Yeah. Again, we don't have a whole lot of information for this one, so
yeah.
Who knows? But
yeah, that was a very short story, but based off the little bit of information we have, I wouldn't consider it very paranormal. But let's go ahead and move on. There's probably more compelling evidence here, so let's take a look. All right, so we're going to move on to Danny. Danny says, did one on a ghost hunt. First time I've ever seen one doing property sentences. I was a bit skeptical, but when it picked me and answered questions and mentioned my grandmother's unusual nickname, and in parentheses they say, that no one else on the board knew.
That's good.
That's good. It does make you wonder. It was quite an emotional experience for the people around the board due to the nature of the messages that came through for me. Makes you wonder.
So that's a good one, saying that they were the only person that knew what was going on.
Right. That's yeah, that's like we were saying before, it's like if multiple people on the board know the answers, it's like it just makes it hard to really believe that it was, you know, paranormal in any way, or that somebody wasn't helping guide the answers. Now, Danny did say that, you know, I don't know for a fact if Danny was using the board. If Danny was using the board too, it kind of plays into what we were talking about previously about you subconsciously moving. You know, because if you're on the board too, you know, a lot of people, you know, you're only supposed to lightly touch this thing. And if you're subconsciously moving it without even knowing, you're moving it to the answers. You know what I mean? The only way to really make this legit is for Danny to not be touching the plain chat.
If Danny was blindfolded.
Or if Danny was blindfolded. That's a good too, yeah. Hands can be on it, just you can't look at it. Yeah, that would definitely be another way. Then Danny could still be the conduit, you know? Yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was gonna say we should do that when we try to communicate with Helen, the haunted doll.
Yeah, we should blindfold ourselves.
Then it's legit.
We could do one blindfolded and one not blindfolded. And, you know, see what answers we get both times.
Yeah.
And, like, kind of compare.
For sure.
That would be a very good experiment.
Right?
So, yeah, that was a good one. Again, I would need to verify that either Danny was using it as well, or he or she was not using it. That makes a huge difference because of the subconscious movements that you make, you know, that plays into it. So if one person that's touching this thing knows the answers, they might be subconsciously moving to those areas of the board. You know? So yeah, still interesting though, and you know what? That's a step forward. Let's see if we can make more progress.
I still find the whole subconscious thing kind of difficult. Like, I get it if it's for yes or no, because it's quite easy, yes, no. But if you're trying to spell something, because for me, I'd have to go like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I'd have to remember where that is in the alphabet specifically to make it, because they're so close together, the letters.
Well, I mean, it's probably not so much like in like some of the videos that we've seen where it's like these people have been using these boards for years, you know, and they know where everything's at, and they're moving with swiftness, you know, and it's like you can almost tell like I guarantee like when standard people who haven't really used the board as much, they're kind of new to it, I'm sure it doesn't just go straight to the letters. I'm sure it's kind of like a movement, and really it's like the letters are all, it's not like a QWERTY keyboard, it's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, you know what I mean? It's so it's really easy to just kind of move it to the...
We should make a QWERTY keyboard Ouija board.
a QWERTY style Ouija board.
Uh-huh.
Hey, you know what? That might work for today's for today's youth.
Right? It's like the modern Ouija board.
The modern day Ouija board.
Let's get on it.
We'll call it the Ouija board.
Yes! Okay, so our next experience is from Robin. Robin says, yes, I was very faithful to it. Also it became very dangerous. The spirit followed me for 30 years. When I played it, I never had to put my hands on it. Just ask it a question and it would move on its own. It became too powerful. I stopped after that. Some things are not meant for humans to handle. A Ouija board is one of them.
All right.
Whoa.
So that is a very interesting story. Again, one of those things where we have to take it for face value. We weren't there, and apparently Robin was alone. Nobody was touching it. I think anyway. He or she doesn't mention if they were alone or somebody else was there, but they did clearly say that they never had to put their hands on it. It seems very personal to them, so I'm going to assume they were on their own. So if that is the case, it's really hard to believe. As much as I do want to believe it, and like I said previously, that when multiple people are there and multiple hands on it, it still makes it hard to believe. I still think that somebody else needs to be there to witness it.
Yes.
Having that second-hand witness, somebody else, another set of eyes on it, to confirm, gives it that much more credibility. A story from someone who used it alone, it's just the kind of stuff's hard to really believe. It's, if you take it on face value, you can say, yeah, that's super creepy, but it's just hard to believe that it really happened without having some sort of second-hand knowledge or from somebody else.
Yeah, it's also like, I want to know what do you mean it followed you for 30 years? What's been happening?
Yeah, how do you know?
This is a hard one because we literally just asked, have you had an experience with the Ouija board? So we're only going to get like Ouija board answers, so they're not going to go that in depth with it. But again, it's like we can't say we weren't there, we're not this person, so
yeah. If we take it on face value, very, very creepy. If this was a true story, this would definitely confirm that it's real. However, they didn't mention if they were alone or with somebody else. Based off what they gave us, it sounds like they were alone when they used this Ouija board, and that they would get responses by themselves, and that's just not credible enough for me to believe that it's true. That that it really happened. Again, I just can't believe that. I'd have to have like a secondhand witness, somebody that was there that's seen it. Again, if they had somebody just standing off to the side who didn't have their hands on it, obviously they said it moved on its own, but also witnessed it with them to come in and give. But I feel like if that was the case, Robin would have been like, let me tag my friend in this, and she'll tell you or he'll tell you, you know.
I'd be recording that, like, whoa.
Yeah, and being that they do mention that it's happened, you know, it followed them for 30 years, and it got to a point where they didn't even have to put their hands on it. That means they did this quite often. At some point, you would record that. I don't feel like that would be disrespectful at all to the spirit. I feel like that would just be helpful to prove that it exists, that it's real.
Maybe every time like they got their phone up to record, the thing was like, no. Like, yes, like, no.
Well, back then it was probably like a giant like VHS like camera.
Yeah, that too. Like, yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely interesting though.
Can I say though?
Yeah.
So we recently, it's a secret. We recently purchased a Ouija board. Shh, don't let it hear you.
We purchased a Ouija board.
Don't let it hear you. Right. So as skeptics, we're like, whatever. You know, we'd like to believe it's real, but we, you know, obviously we're like, don't know about that. So again, not to say any of these experiences aren't real, because we don't know. We weren't there. They probably were.
But we're gonna test this ourselves.
Right? But this is where I was getting. Okay, so we purchased it. We opened it up. We got the classic Hasbro one. Okay, we opened it up. We took it out. We put the little things on the planchette, and we put it back in the box. This box has been sitting like on this little desk of mine over here, and I put my phone on it the first day we had it, and it fell off. My phone's quite slippery, so probably that was it. But I will say
that's not all.
That's not all. So we kind of hear like it's like a crackling noise, and it comes from this area of the room. It's
yeah,
weird.
It does.
It's weird.
You'll be able to hear it in some of the video footage we have of Helen. So we'll pinpoint that to you. You'll be able to hear it. Some of the noises that we hear in the night. So
it's like weird, crackling noises that come straight from this where the board is sat. And again, I don't know what the hell it is. Probably nothing. But we were watching some videos, right, about how to use this thing properly, just in case.
The do's and don'ts.
We don't want to. We don't want anything
We don't know.
bad to
Yeah,
happen.
we don't know what the hell we're doing. So we want to make sure.
We want to use it safely, just in case. We're skeptical, but we want to believe. So we're gonna play it safe.
We want to do it right.
I had no idea about this, but it says when you have the Ouija board, keep the planchette and the board separate from each other. Wrap them in a cloth if you have to, and keep them in a box. Or I didn't know this. We didn't know this. And ever since I put it back, I sort of wrapped it in a flannel and then put it back in the box, the planchette, and we haven't had any weird noises since.
No, it's been pretty. Yeah.
We haven't touched it. We haven't used it yet, though.
But we haven't gone over the latest footage that we have of Helen either. So when we do that, we might hear. Who knows? I mean, they say when you leave it in there, it still is able to open portals to allow spirits through. Sometimes evil spirits. So maybe we did open one, and maybe there is one in here. We don't know. We don't know. Yeah, I'd say since we have wrapped it up and put it in the box and kind of kept it separated from the actual board, while going to bed, I haven't heard anything. I mean, it was to the point where while we were going to sleep, we were hearing noises that I've never heard before off over here in this area actually where we're sitting. Noises that I never noticed before. Is that because I was just not listening for it before, and now I'm listening for it because I'm genuinely creeped out? You know, I don't know. It could be. And just to add on to another weird thing, this board also, we ordered it on a Saturday, or was it Friday? It was a Saturday morning. We ordered it Saturday morning, early in the morning. It was probably 3 in the morning. And it arrived on a Sunday of all days, the very next day, at our door, on a day that the mail doesn't usually go. it's not usually delivered on Sundays.
Especially during this pandemic, like we've been waiting. We haven't been able to like do things that we want to do because the post hasn't been delivering for like 2 weeks.
So this is another one of those things, yeah. Just like with the doll, like it was creepy when it was delivered. This was creepy too. It arrived the next day.
And not only that, I ordered it on my Amazon account, and it's not on the order section. It's not in my emails.
Yeah, maybe we can bring that up as a proof for you guys.
You can see it on the PC, but you can't see it if I log onto my phone.
Yeah.
But it's on the same account. It's weird. It's probably like a glitch or something.
It's probably a glitch, but
why isn't it there?
That's one hell of a coincidence, am I right?
And the fact that post never, ever gets delivered on a Sunday. For my entire existence of living in England, I've never had post on a Sunday.
During this pandemic, like she mentioned, it took you almost 3 weeks to get just this nose ring that you have in.
A little nose ring.
It took forever, and then we ordered this thing last Saturday, and it arrives the next day on a Sunday when we never get post.
That's why I haven't used it yet, because we've also ordered like a stand so we can film it from bird's eye view, and we've ordered some candles, which I ordered just to make it look spooky.
I feel like we ordered all that stuff even before we ordered that.
I ordered it just afterwards.
Oh, afterwards.
But it's taken like a lot longer.
Okay, gotcha.
But I ordered the candles just so it would look spooky, but then we were looking at these videos on how to use it, and every one of them said use candles, white candles, and that's what I ordered. So I was like, whoa.
She was right about that.
Yeah. So
yeah,
it's weird.
It's crazy. So we have our own. So far, we haven't even used the thing, and we've had our experiences already. So
we've been so tempted to touch it, but we want to wait to film it just in case anything weird happens.
All right. So sorry about the rambling. We're gonna go ahead and move on now. We have a submission from Amy. Amy says, "My mom and I used to play Ouija board in the 80s, and we had strange happenings afterwards. Shadows, doors being locked, especially my stepdad. He used to get locked in the bathroom a lot. Strange bangs on the side of our house. Crazy stuff."
Wow.
Yeah, actually, my dad contacted me not long ago because we started doing the show.
He's alive, by the way.
He's alive. Yeah, we haven't used the Ouija board yet.
Could have been.
But he contacted me about his own story about a house we used to live in when I was a kid, and I can tell you that I've had my own experiences there. But I'll go over that in a later episode. But he did say that even he would be in like certain rooms of the house, and he would say like the doorknob of the bathroom would just like start violently moving. He'd open the door, nobody was there. In some instances, like being locked in the bathroom, stuff like that. Very similar. So I can say that I personally have had people that I trust tell me very similar things. No Ouija board though involved in that one.
That's what I mean, like all of these stories, like I played with the Ouija board and then this happened afterwards. I feel like if we didn't play the Ouija board, it would still happen.
Yeah, it would probably be, the Ouija board probably wasn't an element of the haunting,
Yeah, like we're gonna bust ours out and then we're gonna have weird stuff happen afterwards, and it's gonna be like, maybe it's connected, maybe it's not, but
maybe it's not. Like
we could never know.
Yeah, you never know. Like we said, we were having weird things happen before anyway. Before we ever touched it. Yeah, it arrived and it's been here, but we've never touched it, so. Yeah, it's definitely, like Amy said, crazy stuff. Does it have anything to do with the Ouija board? Hard to tell.
So our next submission is from William, and William says, "I have no personal experience, but from what I was told, this story is true. My mum and dad were pregnant with my older sister. They were young and planned on naming her Billy Joe in honor of my dad's stepfather. My mum was fooling around with the Ouija board and asked what the baby should be named. It spelled out Billy Hell, and she miscarried soon after that."
Wow.
So that's really sad.
That's sad, yeah.
That's weird though.
No, that is strange though. Billy Hell. Again, subconscious when it comes to the name Billy. Hell also could be subconscious because you're playing with a board that's known for evil. Yeah, it's interesting. That's weird. Again, I think that maybe this probably does have to do more with subconscious. Now, sadly, the miscarriage happened. I don't think it coincides at all with what that board had said. You know what I mean? I mean, these kind of experiences are hard to judge, or even hard to give a judgment on, because when something so sad as a miscarriage happens, it's like you don't want to take away from what kind of tragedy that actually is. So, but I will say I don't think it really coincides with the board, or with whatever experience they had with the board. I think it was just a very unfortunate event.
Yeah, very unfortunate.
Next, we have a submission from Tracy. Tracy says, "Yes, I have one. The last time me and my oldest daughter was on it, it spelled out things. She asked if she could talk to her dad. It said yes. Then she asked him if he was mad at her for fucking other guys than her husband at the time. The board said yes." I'm just gonna pause there, because what a weird fucking question to ask.
With your mum?
With your mom. Like, Mom, Tracy, how did you feel about that? Anyway.
Yo.
Weird. Yeah, I'm just gonna come out right now and say that's a weird question to be asking. Alright, she goes on to say, then she asked the board, how would she know if her dad visited her? It answered back, when the wind blowing the leaves in a circle, and it happened in her backyard one day. I think I peed my shorts. So we went back on the board and said everyone must stay in the board and buy. Then I put salt in the box when the board was blank.
What? Who knows what happened after that?
I feel like maybe they were playing with the board while typing this out.
It's like when you're in court and there's that person on the typewriter. This is the person on the typewriter. The board was, and then something bad happened, and that was the end of that.
Yeah, no, interesting. Weird. Tracy, all I have to say is just strange. I think when you have questions that personal, I mean...
Why would you use the Ouija board and say, hey, Dad, are you pissed off at me that I'm fucking other guys?
Yeah, terrible.
Why would you ask that?
Terrible. You don't need a Ouija board to tell you that that's wrong.
That's right. So moving on from that one. Our next submission is Mary, not sure how to pronounce that. And they say, I have used one once and I got so scared. You do not always see what you want. Sometimes negative entities do come out to visit, and I do not want to go back. I will never use one again.
Okay. I mean, I've heard of that. I've heard of similar things like that. You might summon something that you don't want to be around, and that thing doesn't want to leave. We had that story before where they said, you know, that spirit or that entity followed me for 30 years. So, you know, we've heard similar things. Yeah.
It would be interesting to know more about it, but again, we literally just asked Ouija board experiences, so
yeah, it's a very brief
get
answer, but
yeah,
you know, yeah, we've heard similar stories. I guess, you know, when you use these things, you do have to be careful. You need to know how to handle them. You have to respect them, and you definitely need to know how to end the conversation with said entity to make sure it doesn't stick around with you. That's from what we've heard and from what we've learned. Yeah. Definitely.
That's what I'm scared about. We're gonna summon something evil.
Well, you know, that's, I guess, one way we find out is by using certain techniques that we've learned, where we, you know, when we're trying to ask about a specific person or a specific thing, if we know answers, we ask specific questions and see how it responds. And then, you know, if it's not answering the questions correctly, you end the conversation there. That way you're not giving it any time to, you know, attach to anything. You're just ending it. Goodbye.
Yep. Makes sense.
You know, so that's one thing to keep in mind, according to what we've learned in the past several days looking up stuff about the Ouija board and how to use it. So that's interesting. But let's go ahead and move on. Let's not get hung up on that. We can go over how to use the Ouija board in another episode. We're going to move on to a submission from Crow. Yeah. Crow cause. Not good. I was 32 years old.
Chronicles.
Let me start that again.
That's good. Go.
So Crow says, not good. I was 32 years old, and my daughter was 12 years old. And it started cursing my daughter out. But before that, it told me the name of my future husband, and it ended up being right. But it was so negative we stopped using it.
Yo, this is a weird one.
This one is weird because...
I was talking to you about this the other day, like, one of the rules is don't ask it how you will die. It's like, how do they know the future if they're spirits?
It's true, like...
it's weird. I don't understand.
When you die and you pass on, do you become a psychic too?
That doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah,
Unless that
weird.
thing is going to kill you, then I don't know.
Yeah, it's super weird. That's a strange one. Coincidence, maybe? Maybe it played a role in your subconscious when you were deciding who your husband was going to be. That, you know, if you ever came across a Michael or whatever his name was, that you might have a bias now. That, not only is he good looking, but his name is Michael, and subconsciously, because of this game I played one time, I'm looking for that, you know, that specific name.
Or they already had someone in mind
Or that too.
that they didn't think anything would happen with, but they wanted it
And
to.
it plays into that subconscious, and they brought the name up themselves. Yeah.
That's how I got you. I was playing the Ouija board. I was like, I'm kidding.
It worked.
Honestly,
3,000 miles away.
I've never touched one before. Okay, so our next story is from Gemma. And Gemma says, the worst thing to do, and the people they don't work for are lucky they didn't. I done stupid dabbling when I was young and paid the price for years. Spirit attachment isn't fun, especially a negative energy.
Okay. Well, that's interesting that they do say the people they don't work for are lucky. They didn't say the people that it don't work for are right that this stuff's not real. They're now claiming that you're lucky if it don't work for you. Hey, maybe, you know, maybe that is the case. Your skepticism, maybe the spirits are not a fan of your skepticism and they stay away from you. I don't know. That's kind of what I'm getting from this.
That's why when we're going to use it, we're going to go in with a completely open mind. We're going to be there. We're going to, like, convince ourselves this is the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, I'm
Like-
not convinced it's real, but it's fascinating, and everybody wants to know what really happens after you pass away, or, you know, is there more to it, or is that it? I mean, it's definitely fascinating to think that there is more to it. So, do we believe? No, but are we skeptical? Yes. Are we optimistic? Sure. I mean, I would love to know. And yeah, when it comes to spirit attachment, yeah, that's from any story we've heard that never has a very good outcome. It's not very fun from what it seems. So
Negative energy.
You know,
That seems to be like the thing with Ouija boards is that it's negative. But why?
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah, I mean, I guess like they said, you know, if you're not respectful, it can produce negative results. I do like, though, that they, instead of saying like a negative spirit, they do say energy. Because if I, you know, being a skeptic and also being more science, more on the scientific side of things, I believe that if anything does occur after you're done here, it's more of an energy thing. That, like, something you leave behind, the energy, you know?
Yeah.
So I do like that. But still, they do say spirit at the same time up here. I see that. But, yeah, I don't know why it's always negative. Maybe these things are more of a conduit for negative energy. Don't know. I think we're going to find out.
That's what they say to you. They say, if it goes to the moon, say goodbye to it immediately.
Immediately, yeah.
But if that happens with us and it does really work, I kind of want to see.
Yeah, I mean, if it works and it does drag over to the moon and we didn't have anything to do with it, you know what I mean? Or it might be worth just investigating. I don't know, you know? Some people might call us stupid for that, but I mean, we're here to investigate and find out the truth, you know?
We're here to do the dumb shit for you.
Yeah, then you don't have to worry about
We're
it.
happy to take the risks, like, you know.
You know, Gemma did say the people that don't work for are lucky that it didn't. Well, our next submission is from Keith, and Keith says, they don't seem to work for me.
Keep you a lucky boy.
Good for you, Keith. Straight from the mouth of Gemma. Yeah, it's, you know.
I'm really afraid that's what's gonna happen for us.
And that might be the case for us, you know. You could say it's because we're skeptics, but you know, we're going in this with an open mind. If it just doesn't work, it's not because we didn't want it to work. We want this to work, you know.
Yeah, we want all of this to be
real.
legit.
And it's just not fair to us, and it's definitely not fair to you who's watching for us to fake you into it. So if it don't work, just understand that it's legitimately us saying, hey, these don't work. It's just a game, you know, like it says on the box. But you know, we've had countless people tell us in comments and messages that they're legit and to respect them. So we're definitely going to go into it with respect. We're not going to go into it with a mindset that it's fake. We're going to go into it with a curious mindset to know. Like, that's just what it is.
Okay, so our next file is from Angie, and we actually have a video from Angie, which is brilliant. We love the video submissions because,
Again, you're going to give us a story. We've mentioned it in the past episodes that if you have a story, it definitely helps to have some sort of video evidence to kind of guide us through the story and kind of give evidence to what you were saying and what you're claiming. So, very awesome.
Not to say that any claims are not true, but it does.
It just gives credibility for sure.
Yeah, and if the video is something that we can debunk, then we can be like, well, this is really what happened.
And you know, it helps with either believing or debunking. It helps with both, you know. So it's just great to have the footage.
And we don't want to debunk. We want to believe.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Our goal isn't to debunk. Our goal is to be convinced.
Yes.
That's the difference.
That's the exciting part.
It's very exciting, yeah.
Okay, so this submission is from Angie. And we actually spoke to Angie because we wanted this video. So I'll be Angie, and you be you.
And I'll be me. Okay.
Yes, my sister and I used it one night. Our kids were there. We lifted our fingers off for a second, and the planchette still moved. I have video proof too.
Whoa. Do you have the video uploaded to YouTube or anything?
No, Angie says no. Let me try to find it and see if I can post it here. We were blindfolded too. That's what we said earlier.
Yeah, oh yeah.
My sister's kid was recording us. Kind of freaked everyone out around us.
Excellent. I would love to see the footage. That would have been creepy.
And Angie says, people might not believe the video, but we were all freaked out.
Okay, we're going to play the video for you, but before we do, I will say I do not remember, as of right now, I do not remember them saying they were blindfolded, and that's interesting that we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, I don't recall them saying that either.
That's interesting, so that'll give this video a new element as well. Again, haven't seen it, but this will give it a new element knowing that they were blindfolded too. Just to see if maybe, they didn't say that it specifically spelled anything out, but if it does, that right there just gives a little bit of credit to what we were saying earlier, and it does kind of help give an idea that this stuff might be real. So
we did see one blindfolded video, but we felt like he knew where the edge of the board was because it went off the board onto the no in the corner.
Yeah.
So he felt the corner.
Yeah, I remember that. Yeah. So
is he?
See, the thing is when it's a video that's uploaded to YouTube and it's just like, I was blindfolded doing this. Who knows? They could have practiced it. This was like them. This wasn't from YouTube. This person, if I'm remembering correctly, when we messaged them and we were going back and forth, they did say something about, I have to look for it. Let me see if I can find it. You know?
Yeah.
So they did find it.
It wasn't like a thing where they were trying to get views on it. It was like a genuine, legit video.
Yeah. This wasn't a video. This wasn't on YouTube. They sent this to us. So
let's have a look.
Check it out.
Oh, it's going to know.
I can lift my fingers up.
not-
You know that. See? I'm barely touching this, guys.
Oh shit, you just spelled yes.
No, it didn't. Oh, it's going. Oh.
Oh my god.
Oh, yeah,
H or HC.
HC.
Hardcore.
Hardcore.
Oh, it went to no.
H.
It went to no.
It went to no. What the fuck?
How old are you?
Someone has to be moving it.
I'm not moving it. Nobody's moving it.
Stop moving it.
Wait, I'm sweating and I am shaking.
What
really
is
fast.
this? What is this? What is this?
You just
Hey.
spelled out Lucifer. You
No,
just
I
spelled out.
So, wasn't very convincing for me. They mentioned that the planchette moved on its own. I didn't see that at all. But it does take me back to earlier in the episode when we were talking about how one person in the group is going to be trying to scare you, if not multiple. There's always going to be somebody. Now, as far as I can see, there was 2 people using the board, and the people that were actually trying to scare them weren't using the board in this case. So that kind of does help take away from the idea that somebody using the board was doing it. They claimed they were blindfolded. We didn't get to see that part, but I could believe that because they were saying, you know, the 2 people, one filming and the other one that was sitting next to them, were kind of like guiding them through where the planchette was going. Did you see that?
Mm-hmm.
And they were asking questions like, where's it going? What does it say? So that kind of does make me feel like they were blindfolded.
But what it was saying, what it was doing, didn't make any sense.
No, it didn't really make any sense. When it went to no, that was interesting, but, you know, kind of like what we were saying earlier about the man that was blindfolded using it, he kind of moved it and it caught the edge, and it's like he knew where it was. Everybody knows starting out where no and yes is going to be on the board. What's more intriguing is what it spells out with the letters. It can move to no and you can be blindfolded, and I'm still going to be like, well, you know, you're blindfolded, but you know where no and yes is on the board. Those are the 2 obvious spots, you know?
You need someone blindfolded and then to spin the board around and then to sit them somewhere random on the board, and then it's...
You know, this is a learning experience for us as well, because when we go to do experiments with this board, then we know what we need to do. Obviously, we mentioned being blindfolded. Now it would make sense to have somebody else there real quick just to flip the board around for us. That way we don't know where everything's at.
We could even do that ourselves, though. We could feel it and swap it around and we wouldn't know.
That's true, you know. I mean, the thing is that we would need to maybe flip the board in the air after being blindfolded and let it land, and then kind of put it...
We do have blindfolded and it goes somewhere, we're like, where did it land?
Yeah, so that would be one way to do it without someone being in the room. Then we gotta figure out, like, is it right side up, you know? But
We're there filming a video, it is on the back of it, like, oh my god, it's working!
so as far as I'm concerned, it's definitely at least a 2-person project. But I would say if 2 people are going to be using the board, you need a 3rd person there, both people blindfolded that are using the board. The 3rd person there just to arrange the board in a way that they don't know. The 2 being blindfolded using the board doesn't know.
Our other experiment that we were going to do was when we were using Helen as an experiment with the spirit box and the pendulum. We both knew the answers, so it was kind of... Obviously, the spirit box was random. We didn't know what it was going to say, and we had some creepy responses from that.
Yeah.
But the pendulum, we both knew the answers to. Apart from when you left the room and I asked something random.
You know, we mentioned that was a 50-50 thing.
Still 50-50 chance.
Still creepy that it was the same response.
Yes.
That was a good experiment, and even though it was 50-50, it shocked me.
So next time that I would like to purchase another haunted doll, and when we do, like, one of us is going to know the background behind the doll and the other one isn't. So when we do these experiments with the Ouija board, the pendulum, the spirit box, whatever, the other person isn't going to know the answers, so there can be no persuasion.
No subconscious persuasion. Yeah.
And that's just a haunted doll experience. It might turn out that we use the Ouija board and it's something completely different.
Yeah, and again, like we mentioned during that episode with Helen, it was saying that she was 10 years old. Well, from what we learned with the Ouija board, and with the experiments we mentioned, we could be asking questions to Helen and getting answers from a completely different entity that's lying to us. So, you know, that kind of plays into those answers we got too. You know, they were intelligent answers, one of which the age bit was way off. Like, not way off, but, you know, she died at the age of 8. That's what we learned, and it kept saying 10. So, you know, going back, it kind of makes me wonder if we were contacting something else that was pretending to be Helen. But anyway, yeah. So interesting stuff that we have here, and I've learned a lot about the Ouija board since ordering this thing, and I'm just excited to get to experiment with it.
We've been waiting. We've been so excited. We're waiting our first ever experience. We're going to record the whole thing. It's going to be completely genuine. So
Yep. And if we don't get any results, that's just what it is. It's not us being skeptics, not wanting results. We want results. We want good. We want to see some crazy shit.
We're going to go into it with a completely open mind. Our next episode, like I said, we ordered all this stuff. The Ouija board came on a Sunday. It was really weird. But we ordered all this stuff, and that's not coming till the beginning of May. We do have another video we're going to do before that, which is our first ever ghost hunt around the area that we live in. So that's exciting.
Yep.
But the Ouija board stuff is coming.
It's coming.
Soon.
Very soon. So yeah, exciting stuff. I thought these stories were very interesting. There were at least one, but a few that were not very convincing. But they definitely do help to get an idea of how to use the board, what we need to be looking for, what we need to do to get accurate, 100% truthful answers, to get like an idea if this is real or not. Because again, this stuff is we're very skeptical of it. We're not believers, but we want to know if it's real. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna test it. It's very, we're very grateful for the responses we got to our questions about the Ouija board. Again, these things just help add on to our knowledge of the board and what we need to do personally to get answers, to do these experiments and get results. So
that was really the main reason for asking the questions. It's like, because you can go on YouTube, you can Google it, and you can look at these videos, but you just know it's not a genuine response. When you hear like scary stuff that has happened from a genuine person that hasn't posted anything on YouTube, they're not like a social influencer or anything like that. That spooks me a little bit.
Yeah.
So.
And it's like, with stories, you can debunk them all day. And what you need to do with debunking these stories is take whatever debunking you did and put that into testing. Get minus certain elements that might have influenced them to get the answers they did. Take those elements out. Blindfold, have somebody else rearrange the board while you're blindfolded so you don't know which way's up and down of the board, and see what results that you get. Those are the things that I'm interested in. So So we'll see, because we're working hard here to figure it out. We're skeptics. I want to get results.
That's all we have for you today. If you enjoyed this video, please click the like button and please subscribe. It means the world to us. And also, if you have any Ouija board experiences of your own, please let us know in the comments below. We're so interested to find out.
Yeah, and if you have any experiences of your own that you'd like to submit, along with any picture or video evidence, feel free to submit them to want2believeyou@gmail.com, or you can contact us on Facebook. You can leave a comment. If you don't feel comfortable leaving it in a public thread, you can message us as well, because we're out to get the truth behind these paranormal claims, and we're out to discover the truth about the paranormal in general, because I want to believe you. Do you?
I want to believe you. Do you?